and or not winning. They ended up losing that game despite only giving up 2 hits, and they had 5 hits of their own. Weren't able to bring any home. I was like, you know what? That's still a formula for winning. I still highly anticipate them still hanging around and being there for a while. I don't think they get bounced after that game, just because of how much they kind of dominated.
You know, that's a little reminiscent of Coastal's run in the College World Series, where they had the pitchers duel, and we was like, okay, that's a tough one to lose, but we're still gonna be there. All right, so South Dakota's up next. That's today.
I believe so. Let me double check that.
I think it's 7 o'clock tonight. Is that correct?
Oh, they get to play under the lights.
Nice.
I think so.
There's also a sick double play they made yesterday, too, with the bases loaded.
Right?
They got in a jam. They got in a little bit of a jam and got out of it. That first baseman, man, that was tough. He had a nice stretch, stretched out to be able to get that. If he doesn't make that stretch, he doesn't make that play. A run scores. Game's a little different if that doesn't happen. They're awesome, man. They're awesome. So they win. They survive. We're still pulling for them. So, again, what time was that, Jenny? Say 7:30 tonight?
I think 7 o'clock tonight. We'll double check.
Yeah, we'll double check. I'll get ESPN. I get the crack staff in here on that. But the big news yesterday, South Carolina Gamecocks spoke. Players, Coach Beamer. I will have my review of the Emily Beamer cookies in question that were criticized for being undercooked. I'll let you know if they are. That's later in the show. 7:45 is when that will be.
Big moment, big time play by Miss Beamer.
Yes.
Big time play by Miss Beamer to take the adversity, face it head on, face the competition, and show and prove. She didn't run. She didn't run behind the screen. She didn't let Shane speak for her. She said, these are my cookies, and I stand behind this product.
Standing on business, I think is what the kids would call that.
Stand on business. Well, that's also what Eli Drinkwitz said to Josh Heupel. Very briefly.
I'm very ashamed to say and reveal that's the first time I ever heard anybody say that.
Was that the first time you heard
that?
Somebody?
Was. Because I remember being like, what does that even mean,
The first time you heard
stand on business
was from purveyor of multiple slang words. Eli Drinkwitz was the first person.
I regret to inform you that was indeed the first time I ever heard that used in a sentence.
See, that's how history happens. Now, in your mind, Eli Drinkwitz is the creator of stand on business.
I don't want to give him that credit, though.
Yeah, please don't. Please don't. Somehow we will rewire your brain to make you think you learned it somewhere else.
Yes, which is why I hated the phrase, because I heard it from him the first time. You know when you hear something from somebody like for the first time and you're like, just because you said it, it's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Just because you said it. It's because of who the messenger was. If I could have heard it from literally anybody else, probably wouldn't have had that thought.
What a silly moment. College football is awesome.
College football is awesome to that. Claiming national championships, which we're also going to get into.
Hey, why not?
In the show, because I guess if it's open and available, and one publication said you're a national champion, Reader's Digest might have claimed some Auburn national titles. They're like, you know what? We'll take their word for it.
A publication is doing a lot of work, and it's carrying the water for a lot of assumptions that are being made by Auburn yesterday, because I do in fact have some information on these publications. May not be what you think they were.
Oh, this is good. Oh, this is really good. And this might inspire me one day to try to claim some national titles for the Sewanee football team pre-1910 when they were a juggernaut, and they were in what we now know as the Southeastern Conference, where it just means more. I don't care if it was over 115 years ago. It might still count to me. But Shane Beamer and South Carolina Gamecocks spoke yesterday. A couple of takeaways from where we're at as a football team going into the opener against Virginia Tech. I think the big news that was kind of revealed was edge rusher George Wilson going to be out, quote, a while. That's the term that Shane used to describe George Wilson and his injury status.
Yeah, and I guess what we know about the Shane Beamer era is a while means a significant period of time.
Yeah. Good chance he is not playing this season.
Correct. And you never want to make a proclamation before they go through the whole process. He's probably going through MRI and all that type of stuff and getting all the final details. So you never want to make it clear and say, hey, this guy won't ever play again or he's not playing. You don't want to say that. But when Shane says a phrase similar to that as a while, we've heard that sort of talk before, and it usually means they won't be here.
And Jaylen Brown kind of in the same boat, transfer from Missouri. He got hurt earlier in camp. Don't expect to see him this season, personally. So there has been a little bit of a hit to the depth in the edge rusher room. Now, they still like what they have for the most part, and I think guys that were projected to play big-time snaps are still in that room. Lenore's asked yesterday about kind of some of the edge rushers in the room as well, and he mentioned, Damon Clowney's having a really good camp. Guys like Brian Thomas still having a really good camp. Desmond Umazulu, I still think is going to get a lot of snaps at that opposite edge rusher position from Dylan Stewart. I still am intrigued with what they have. They just maybe don't have the depth they were planning on having going into the season. Never want to have injuries in camp, but at least I think that edge room still looks pretty good.
Yeah, injuries are part of the game. They're going to happen. Injuries are going to happen throughout camp. You cannot play the game of football despite how much you try and do thud and you try not to go to the ground and you try all these different aspects. You cannot avoid injuries in football. It happens. Unfortunately, it happened for George, but this is the first ones that we've heard coming out of camp this year. So yesterday we said, I think yesterday, maybe Monday, we said that how we had been in a good spot as far as injuries are concerned. I still think you're in a good spot, but this is just part of the game.
And then we talked yesterday about what the sources were telling us from the second scrimmage. Well, we got to ask the source, a source you could say close to the program. Maybe this is from the horse's mouth. I think we have it on good authority to say that we now know exactly how the second scrimmage went. This is cut 4 yesterday, or on today's list. This is what Shane Beamer had to say on the questions that were answered in scrimmage number 2.
I was hoping to see our punters punt even better, our snappers snap even better, and our kickers kick even better, and they did. So that was very good to see. I was hoping to see maybe a little bit more explosiveness on the offense as far as explosive plays. Saw that. I was hoping to see the defense create a few more takeaways than what they did the week before. And I know there was one on social media, GK's interception, and that was one. But overall, I thought they were better. Offense protecting the ball still good. Defense doing some things. So, yeah, there's a lot that I went into it. Wanting to stay healthy was probably the biggest thing because that was a scrimmage for us, Jack, where we really wanted to get our the guys that we really know, the Lenorises of the world that are going to be playing a lot of snaps against Virginia Tech. We wanted to get them as much of a, game-like feel as we could. So we, instituted TV timeouts where they have to get used to the drives over, and now we punt, and now it's 3 minutes of just downtime. So we were in there for about 2.5, 3 hours, just getting used to our guys feeling that as well. So along those lines, we wanted our top guys, if you will, to get a lot of reps, and that was the other thing we got accomplished, and we were able to stay healthy, throughout that as well.
So got to kind of simulate a game. Obviously, the stuff at the beginning with punting better, kicking better, being better in the operations specialist. We'll elaborate a little more of that later in the hour, too, because I asked Shane kind of more specifically what he liked about what he saw from those specialists and how those battles are shaping out. But I did find it interesting, that being able to simulate the game as much as humanly possible, especially when they've had to make some changes. Really, what the weekend was a really good example for those players on how to handle some of the unpredictabilities of football, like weather, right? There may be some games this year where there's a weather delay. You started off last year against Old Dominion with a weather delay. That almost seemingly happens once a year, where you have a 30-minute to an hour or so delay because of lightning in the area, and you have to be able to readjust on the fly. And they had to do that where they moved the scrimmage from Williams-Brice to the indoor facility.
Okay, that makes sense now.
So there was a little bit of having to adjust and bring over the energy you brought to the stadium to be back to the practice facility, and then institute a lot of like the TV timeouts, things that are going to simulate as much of an operation during an actual game as humanly possible.
Yeah, and that's the last scrimmage where, as he was stating, the ones are going to probably go against the ones. There's going to be a little bit more taken to the ground, all the way live. For everybody else, I'm assuming Lenoris is not live. That's going to be the last time where they're doing it, because now they're into game week prep, and now there's the scout teams over here and the ones are over here, and they're all that type of stuff. So that's the last real look if anybody was trying to make a last little push to get into a depth chart or try and gain a position, that's probably the last spot that they would have on
you're
that
pretty
scrimmage.
sure that Lenoris is in the first group?
Well, yes, I'm pretty confident that he's a first starter. I'm confident. However, the only reason I said I'm assuming that Lenoris is live is because, again, as I say a lot of times, I played for Lou Holtz, and Lou Holtz decidedly won several scrimmages, decided to make the quarterback not live, which was a very odd, peculiar situation to be in as a defensive player. Because it's like, hey, coach, we can't. That's
not how it's going to be in the game, right?
We can't. We don't want to hit the quarterback, but yeah. So I think Shane's a little bit different than that. So I would assume Lenoris was not live, and he is the first starter. Correct.
Yeah, would not be surprised. I will say that. I will not be surprised that Lenoris is the first starter. Maybe the most. If we were talking about yesterday about the guarantees on this football team, I think that's the safest guarantee possible, is that we will see number 16 be the starting quarterback to start that game. I did like that he alluded to the Gerald Kilgore interception that kind of picked up some steam online. Great play. And that's a player, too, that we talk about Jalen because Jalen's a preseason All-American, a guy who led the SEC in interceptions last year. I expect to see a lot more out of Gerald this year. There's a lot more talk about him. He spoke a little bit yesterday, too. There's a lot more talk about Gerald this season in this camp than there was last year. So there seems to be some pretty good development. It was a really good play, too. For those who have seen it, it was a pretty athletic play.
Yeah, and if you saw the play online, did pick up some steam. Tremendous play, one of those plays that may have been a PBU before, but turns into an interception because he makes the play, and that could be the thing that changes the dynamic of a game. So that was really cool to see.
One thing Judge Collier talked about last week was turning PBUs into INTs. That's a good way to start, is by having everybody else start turning those PBUs into INTs, being a unit that can force a lot of turnovers. So our questions of the day: what is the state of the team going into the first game against Virginia Tech? What questions do we still have as camp concludes? Now, we'll answer that throughout the show, but something interesting was brought up yesterday. An interesting revelation, if you will, because new offensive coordinator, Mike Shula, brought a lot to Columbia with him from his days in the NFL, his days as a head coach at Alabama before Nick Saban, a lifelong NFL football coaching experience. But I think what we didn't anticipate was him bringing in let's just say, an interesting motivational tactic. And we'll tell you what that is when the early game continues. Look, golf is fun outside, but I would be willing to tell you, equally fun inside, especially when you can pick the course you want to play on. And that's the best part about Pro Swing. Like, Pro Swing's more than just golf zone simulators, which is really cool stuff that you can rent by the hour. Memberships are still available where you can book online or you can call 803-592-3916 to reserve. But here's another part. You get a free 30-minute swing evaluation. Right? Get that blueprint of your swing and a couple of pointers and drills to work on to improve your golf game wherever it is that you're playing. They also provide lesson packages for beginners to scratch golfers, kids to adults. It does not matter. And they use the OnForm coaching app during all these swing evaluations and lessons so you can get a before and after video of your swing to go along with the drills they'll give you. They have club fittings and tailor-made dealer. All of this at Pro Swing. Again, 803-592-3916 or book online at proswingcolumbia.com.
I-26 eastbound before exit 125. I have a report of an accident there. And as far as forecast goes, yep, it is going to be a little more dry for the next couple of days. So we certainly will welcome that. Looking for a high today of 90. 92 tomorrow. Chances for scattered thunderstorms coming in again on Friday with a high of 85. It's 73 currently on the early game.
Preston Thorne, what's the strangest motivational tactic a coach has ever bestowed upon you?
To be fully transparent, Elijah just asked me to think about this maybe 1 minute ago, so we are very live here. And immediately what came to my mind was an old offensive line coach that I used to have in Somerville. Shout out to Rusty Hamilton. He was a legend. He used to come out there. He was grizzled, old vet, whatever you see as an offensive line, he was that guy. He used to wrap his knees up and, before practice. And, he used to say that you need to be playing, when you go out here, you need to be playing full of P and V. The V being vinegar.
Ah.
And he said, and he would frequently say, and I'm old, and I ain't got no vinegar, so here's the P. And he would pee.
Oh, wow. Okay. I mean, he brought one of the two. I mean, if you're going to require that from your players, I guess having that yourself is leading by example? Question mark?
Shout out to Coach Hamilton.
Man, I haven't heard pea and vinegar since I was covering hockey. That is maybe the most popular hockey term.
Is it a hockey term?
Oh, man. Almost any type of... So we used to have, when I was working in Nashville, a guy named Terry Crisp, who was... used to be the head coach of the Calgary Flames when they won the Stanley Cup in the late 80s. And then it was the TV analyst for the Predators. Anytime there was a player that come in, we'd ask for a scouting report on a new player. If they were like an enforcer, that's how he described them, as being full of
P and V.
P and V.
I would have seen that coming at all.
Yeah, and it is a very popularized, in hockey circles. Can confirm to you.
I don't know that I've heard
very
of
popularized.
Wow, I haven't really heard it so much in sports as I've heard it about like a child.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
A very versatile term here.
Yes.
A very interesting motivational tactic, to say the least. It's a way of leading by
I think
example.
that's second compared to this one, though.
But we might have had the strangest one. And this comes from Mike Shula, because yesterday Lenore Sellers was talking to the media, QB1, and he brought up something about Coach Shula that I think we all learned yesterday. This is cut 23.
Yeah, he has this cast of poop, and he's just you just took a dump right on my desk if I do something bad. So he just be like, if I do something bad, he just go get the dump off my desk, and he makes us put it on his desk. He's like, that's what you just did to me. So I mean, if you do something bad, that's usually what he does.
I wrote down in my notebook that I take with me to press conferences just for tidbits. If there's anything I want to use in the show, I jot it down. If I have a question I think of, I jot it down. And I wrote, quote, how many times have you had to grab the poop? End quote, dash, a real question in a press conference, first time in my life. And it was a valid one. First time that anybody got to ask that question, maybe in their careers where it was valid.
So to clarify, there is a figurine of poop.
Yes, we...
and it came to mind, a la Mr. Hanky style. That's what
yes, from South Park.
That's what I was thinking.
For all the South Park
for South Park Truthers, a la Mr. Hanky. There's a fake poop in which, when you make a mistake, instead of like a dog where you have to, rub the nose in the poop, we're not doing that. You get the poop and you put it on his desk to signify that you have taken a poop on Mike Shula's desk.
Yes, that is what you did to him.
That's what you did to him.
That is a visual representation of what you did to him by putting that on tape.
You didn't hit the check down. Go get the poop.
Go grab it. And, the fact that is a sentence that has been said in a quarterback meeting room is hilarious. Not hilarious if you're on the receiving end of it.
Absolutely not.
Because you don't want to have to be the one grabbing it. Now, I think we did get a little clarification. It is like more of like a molding. I don't think it is like a plastic, I guess, molding of it.
Okay.
I mean, Lenore did clarify it looks very real.
All right.
So it is a pretty accurate representation of what Mike Shula is trying to depict here. So now that left some of the media there wondering how many times have certain players had to grab it. Who grabs it the most? Lenore Sellers was asked that. This is cut 24 on who's grabbing this the most.
Nah, I haven't a lot, but Cutter, Air, those guys have done a lot just because they don't really know the system. So, I mean, obviously, if you don't know it, you're going to make some mistakes, but it happens quite a bit. Jimmy Francis, a lot. It's a lot.
Everybody's held accountable. Everybody has had to grab the poop at one point.
Been a crap ton that they've had to do it.
It is.
Exactly.
Yeah, you could certainly say that.
Yeah. The nurse is like, I grabbed the poop, but those guys, they get it a lot.
They're shoveling it. They are constantly. They might as well wear gloves to
Go
the
and
meeting.
back up the truck, man.
Yeah.
The manure truck.
And here's the thing. As a player walking in the film session, you know when you messed up. And so you're just always dreading the play or the series or the drill.
You know when the play comes up, too.
You know when it's happening, and it's like, here it comes. Cutter, go get it. You know what you did.
And you're probably almost like getting ready to stand up to get it because you know you're going to be asked to go get it. Right? You know you're going to be summoned to go receive that off of Coach Shula's desk and put it on yours.
I like it. I like this motivational style.
And then Shane was asked about it, what he thought. This is cut 2 of Shane talking about Mike Shula's interesting motivational tactic.
I'm well aware. There's certain things that I think need to stay in-house, and that was probably one of them. But, yes.
Well, just how did that come about? And once you found out about it, where you're just like, okay, whatever helps?
Kind of whatever. I hire coaches and trust them to do their jobs and whatnot. And I wasn't really aware of it, David. I go to the quarterback meetings most days, and I was in there last week. We had a couple basketball coaches that were here visiting, and I was sitting there with them, and something came up, and Mike told Cutter to go get it, you know what, and I didn't know what was going on, and then Cutter came back carrying the piece of you know what as well, and he kind of enlightened us on the backstory, going back to when he was with the New York Giants and all that as well. So whatever it takes to connect with guys and motivate them, I'm all for.
2 things. One, it's funnier, Coach, that it didn't stay in-house. Maybe you think something should, but for the purposes of the bit, maybe it shouldn't.
That's correct.
Right? Maybe it should not.
Now we're interested.
I think this is a net positive here because this is really funny. I think that's one of the hardest I've laughed in a press conference in a long time. I really appreciated that. Number 2, the basketball coach that he alluded to was Shaka Smart, the head coach at Marquette, the coach who did take VCU to a Final Four. Shaka Smart is visiting to see how this program operates because he's that interested in the program. He goes and sits in on the quarterback meeting, and one of the first things he sees is Mike Shula telling players to get the fake dump off his desk and put it on theirs. And for some reason, that imagery is killing me.
Yeah, man. You travel around, you want to get tidbits from all the coaches, and, Shaka goes back to his staff. He's like, look, guys, I got it. You know what they do in South Carolina, and that team, they almost made the CFP last year. Every one of my coaches, you get a fake poop, and here's what we're going to do. This is what Mike Shula does. I'm telling you. It's working.
You see what Lenore Sellers did against Clemson? He's not doing that without this motivational tactic. If we want to make a Final Four, if we want to make a run in the NCAA tournament here for once at Marquette with me being the head coach, I am going to use this as a motivational factor. This will get us over the top.
And you know what? Now I'm going to see something where how they have those stress balls. Yeah, it's going to be stress that.
No.
And
yeah.
It's going to have like
Listen,
a Gamecock on it. The branding's coming.
Business is working.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do your business.
Yeah, I could just see Shane, things that happen, like Shane said, in-house. Shane's like, not in front of company. No.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Right.
We got guests here. That's not what we wanted to do, but okay.
But okay. And I think to wrap this one up, I think it's very apropos, I guess, that we used this for segment number 2 of the show.
Nicely done.
But coming up next, players in year number 1 have turned some heads at camp. Which freshmen showed out so far and have caught the attention of one Shane Beamer? We discuss that next here on the early game.
Farrow Road at I-77, also an accident, I-26 eastbound before exit 125. Looks like that is about cleaned up in that area. 90 for the high today with some passing clouds. A few clouds tomorrow, 92 for the high. Then we pop into the 80s for a bit. And a couple scattered thunderstorms possible throughout the weekend. 85 on Friday, 82 on Saturday. 73 right now in the early game.
Preston, your first ever camp when you were a player at South Carolina, how would you describe that? Overwhelming? Sensory overload?
Yes and yes, all of the above. Overwhelming, sensory overload. Humbling is another way I would describe it. Yeah, it's a lot to take in at the same time.
I didn't even play college football my first semester of college. Overwhelming.
Yeah.
Humbling.
Yeah, yeah. And on top of that, you got to go to college.
There's
on
the
top
whole
of that,
school thing,
Yeah,
too.
there's that too, which is pretty wild.
And I wonder, why do they call it camp? Because when you think of camp, you think of, bonfires and, s'mores and fun adventures.
And kumbaya by a fire.
Yeah, lots of fun things
Not
and
that.
swimming.
No, camp is not that. No. In fact, I've never gone to one of those camps. The only camps I've ever been to have been football camps.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
so
Sorry.
my version of camp, not great, even from high school on.
Man.
Yeah, so you probably shudder when you hear that word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, very true.
The word's got a different connotation for Preston. So you're telling me they don't have a zip line at the facility that they're using?
Well, no. I mean, some places have slides.
Some places have slides. That's true. They do. I don't know if they have like a fire pit or anything like that, but maybe a different kind of camp. Maybe no s'mores at this one. There were cookies yesterday, but no s'mores. But for some freshmen, they seem to be acclimating really well, especially at the wide receiver position. Cut 17, Jen. This was Shane Beamer when asked about a few of the standout freshmen so far in their first college football preseason camp.
Yeah, I mean, it may be a little early from y'all's standpoint, not for us. I mean, we talk about that all the time, just especially for Joe DeCamillis in regards to special teams, and we meet, regularly, but every Sunday after a scrimmage, we sit in there and we talk about, okay, here's where we see this guy on defense right now. Where do we see him on special teams? Is he going to play on special teams? Is he a guy you got to have? So we're having those conversations just from a rep standpoint, so we can have a general idea of who we need to be repping where. And if he's nowhere in the defensive or plans or the offensive plans, a certain individual, but he's definitely a guy that Joe D says I need, then we're going to get that guy ready to play from a special team standpoint. So we're fairly far along with that. Not necessarily going through each position necessarily, but I think you could look around at every position: tight end, receiver, defensive end, linebacker, defensive back, and say that there's going to be a true freshman at those positions playing against Virginia Tech, whether it be on special teams or on offense, defense.
And one of the offensive players specifically mentioned yesterday, this is by Vakari Swain, because he was asked about some of those players who have been standing out so far. Vakari Swain goes out of his way to mention Brian Rowe. He mentioned that he was tough in space, tough to guard, because he's a little bit of a smaller receiver, but incredibly shifty, very quick, kind of paraphrasing a little bit, but that was his scouting report. And I've heard a lot of people talk about Brian Rowe specifically as a guy who may be one of those freshmen that pops early and maybe a little ahead of schedule in their development. But then when you hear Shane Beamer talk about it too, a lot of the impact freshmen will be guys who are making impacts on special teams, because based off of that clip, there is a lot of discussion with him and Joe DeCamillis about which one of those guys they're able to carve a niche in special teams to be able to get themselves out on the field.
Yeah, special teams is a way for a lot of athletes to get on the field early. Maybe it's a way for you because the more things that you can do, the better chance you have to travel, to make the travel squad, to make the final cut or whatever the case is. A lot of times we talk about that with the NFL, but the same thing applies in college. If it's a battle between Elijah and Preston for the third or the fourth wide receiver spot, but Elijah is committed to special teams, Preston not so much, Elijah's going to make that roster. Preston's going to stay home in redshirt. And so you see the path through special teams is often the time where players get to either dress or even more specifically play in early times, especially for freshmen.
And there's probably just an inherent value of just being out on the field, even if special teams is a different skill set than what you would have as a wide receiver. Just being on the field and getting more comfortable in a game setting and kind of adjusting to the speed of the game, because I feel like that may be one of the biggest differences for people who are playing in high school and then you make that transition to playing in college where instead of maybe one or two guys on the field being as fast and strong as you, everybody on the field is as fast and strong as you. So maybe before even taking snaps at your preferred position, even if it's a completely different skill set, there's got to be just an inherent value of being on a football field and competing against other players that are equally as fast and strong and talented as you are.
Absolutely, because in high school, when you were on punt return and you were the gunner, all you had to do was go whoop whoop, and you just ran by.
No one's touching you.
Nobody touched you. You went down, you made the tackle. But now in college, when you're a gunner, dude puts his hands on you like, oh, he's strong.
He's different.
Wow, he's stronger than I am, or he's faster than I am, or usually I can turn the jets on here and move past them, and all of a sudden my jets aren't really working the way they used to, or something along those lines. And you have to figure that out the more you play and the more experience you get in a game. And yes, there's something to just being on the field, something to just hearing your name called. You're on punt team. You have to be locked into the game because punt team is going to get called. And so there is an inherent value of knowing that you are contributing positively to the team's outcome.
I think maybe a great example of this, David Busey made a lot of great special teams plays last year, forced that punt against Alabama. One of my, if I'm maybe ranking like 15 of my favorite plays from last year, even though they didn't recover the fumble, him punching the ball out on a special teams play and even forcing that fumble, one of my favorite plays on special teams. And, for a player like that who plays on the defensive side of the ball, yes, it was a special teams play, but that has to instill a ton of confidence that, hey, if I can do this on special teams, and I can channel my inner Charles Tillman and peanut punch the ball out, why can't I do that on defense?
Yeah, but not only confidence in yourself, but confidence from the coaches.
Yeah.
If, God forbid something happens, but injuries happen.
This is football.
You're going to start thinking, get Boosie. Get him.
Yeah. Big play Boosie.
Yeah, get him, right? Even if, you're trying to figure out who you're going to put in the game, this guy makes plays, he's capable, he competes. That's the dude that you want on the field.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And look, we're talking about him right now because of a play he made on special teams.
Right.
So now whenever it comes time for him to have to play on defense and play a bigger role in the defensive secondary, I think we all have more confidence in him because of what we've seen him do in that element of the game.
And again, remember, this is a neutral site game. It's not a home game, the first one. Everybody ain't going. So special teams is your way to make the travel roster, a way for you to be at the first game, and a way for you to possibly dress out and do all the things that you envision yourself doing, especially as a young player.
Now, in terms of questions on special teams, that's one of them. Who are you bringing to Atlanta to play against Virginia Tech? But the other one, who are you using to do some of the most important things on special teams? Punting, kicking, snapping, holding. Where are they in special teams right now with an entire new unit at very key positions? I asked Coach Beamer that question yesterday, and we'll hear his answer next on the early game. A lot going on tomorrow and Friday. Thursday, 7 o'clock, Carolina Calls with Coach Shane Beamer, the first one of the season. They'll be live at Backstreet's Grill. Looking forward to hearing that, hearing what Coach Beamer has to say and what you guys have to ask him, what you're curious about going into the season. And then Friday, we'll start the day off because there's one spot left for the Game Summer Golf Classic, sponsored by Krager Showrooms, formerly the Nest in the Vista. That is, of course, this Friday, August 22nd. Tee time 9 a.m., registration at 7:30. And, of course, there'll be food from Firehouse Subs and Mosa Bar from Saki's Wine and Spirits. Prizes. The golf gun is back again with the proceeds going to Camp Discovery. $400 a team. Call 803-755-2000 and press number 2 to sign up. And then Friday night, starting at 7, running all the way up until 11, the first high school football scoreboard show with myself and Justin Hall. Real football, real implications being played on Friday here in South Carolina.
Yeah, everybody's, and it's not, I mean, I guess technically it's week 0 because it's before college football, but
Stupid
everybody's
term.
playing.
Yeah,
right?
stupid term.
Everybody's
Stupid
playing, so this is it.
There is no such thing as a 0th week. That's not how numbers work.
Let's start the games.
Yeah, that's not, if it was like a preseason and none of the games counted, I'm cool with a week 0.
Now it counts.
But if the games count, there is no 0th week. Week 1 should not be the second week of the season. It just breaks number rules.
Can we just try to make a law to make this week 0 business go away?
I would sign on. I would absolutely sign on. I will testify to whoever needs to hear it about why we don't need to have something called week 0. Just sticks with me a little.
Doesn't exist.
Don't love it. Doesn't exist. No. Breaking the laws of mathematics. Don't care much for it. But we heard a little bit in the last segment about Shane Beamer talking about freshmen getting onto the football field, and one of the best avenues of doing so is playing on special teams. Well, going into this year, there's going to be a new kicker. There's going to be a new punter. There's going to be a new holder. There's going to be a new long snapper. There's going to be a whole new, a lot of positions on special teams, almost a completely new unit. So I asked Coach Beamer yesterday about the special teams. He mentioned when he was talking to or answering Jack's question about what he saw in the second scrimmage compared to the first, he mentioned special teams being better. So I asked him yesterday, what about the special teams he liked, and specifically in terms of their development over camp going into week 1? This is cut 12. Here's what he had to say.
Just the consistency of doing their job, snapping, holding, kicking, punting, as it gets closer to game day. And that's, last Saturday we tried to put them in more tough situations, and 2-minute drive where it's a field goal to win, and they both got, multiple kickers got out there and kicked field goals in that scenario, field goal to win. Try to make it game-like with people screaming, me on the microphone, William Joyce, Mason Love, Peyton Argent, Max Kelly, whoever on the field to attempt a 48-yard field goal or whatever it might be. And just, seeing them go out there and be able to perform and just be consistent, that was the biggest thing as well. And not that they weren't beforehand, but I just saw more consistency out of that on Saturday afternoon.
Certainly what you like to hear is consistency. I think with someone like Mason Love specifically, we hear about the ceiling, about potentially really big leg, just no college experience. It's good to hear that, in camp at least, there has been more consistency with simulated game pressures. I also fully understand that there's only so much you can do to simulate the pressure of kicking in an actual game with a crowd. There's only so much noise you can make, especially when you're playing in venues like Baton Rouge or Tiger Stadium and LSU. When you have to go to Ole Miss at Vaught Hemingway Stadium, that's going to be a pretty tough place to play. College Station, Texas A&M, going to be a pretty tough place to play. You're going to play in some tough venues this year where hearing yourself think will be a little bit of a chore. But at least if they're able to get it down right now in practice, makes you feel at least a little better maybe about their ability to translate that into a real game setting.
Yeah, because see, here's the thing is, oftentimes specialists in high school do not have to perform in pressure situations. Like, I'm not even talking about the crowd, because pressure is pressure. You can feel those kids that are playing in Williamsport at 12 years old, they feel internal pressure at that age. And you can, so the idea, like, how many times has this player had to perform their job under pressure, kick a game-winning field goal, or make a punt backed up in the end zone. It's not the outside pressure. It's how many times have they had to perform this specific task in a game, and oftentimes specialists in high school don't have to do it often. So that's what you want to try and create for them. You want to try and have them be in those situations as often. And frequently it's just, man, who this is not you can't analyze it, but it's like who got it and who doesn't. Who has the juice? Who can perform in situations where it is high pressure? And again, when I, as a nose guard, when I get reached on an inside block, nobody cares and nobody sees it. When you,
subtle,
as a long snapper, make a bad snap, one of the 5 you make all game, everybody knows it and everybody sees you not do your job.
And that's the one they remember.
Exactly.
They don't remember the snaps that went well, just the ones that went poorly. And for kickers too, there are really good kickers, but the great kickers are the ones who are able to be relied upon from 50-plus yards with the game on the line. Mike Vanderjagt, for like a 3-year stretch, was one of the best kickers in the history of the NFL. But what broke him? A kick in 2006 against the Pittsburgh Steelers when the Colts were heavy favorites because they were the best team in the AFC that year. He's got a chance to send the game to overtime from, I don't even know if it was even 50 yards, right? And he missed the kick so badly. It's one of the worst, most egregious missed kicks in the history of football, and he was never the same after that. He was never able to be relied upon to hit the same kicks that he was earlier in his career. It broke him a little bit, and that's the reason why we don't think of Mike Vanderjagt the same way we do Adam Vinatieri or some of the better kickers, Justin Tucker, who has hit a 66-yard field goal at one point in his career to win a game. We don't put him in the same light because of your ability to be relied upon when the game's on the line. Speaking of games, to start hour number 2, I'm going to channel my inner Jigsaw, and I want to ask Preston Thorne if he'd like to play a game. And it's a rhetorical question because I'm going to make him do it anyway, because that's what we planned on. So no matter what his answer is, he's doing it anyway, and that's how we're starting off hour number 2 next here on the early game.
Pressing in for the good folks at Integrated Media. Listen, we've been trying to tell you all that you need to get yourself ready with your outdoor setup, but now here we are, 268 hours, 14 minutes, and 35 seconds until the season happens. Yes, the clock is ticking. That means you need to call the folks at Integrated Media to get your outdoor setup ready. The season is upon us. What does your outdoor setup look like? It could be Samsung Terrace TVs that are waterproof. It could be Sonos outdoor speakers for TV and music, Wi-Fi that works indoors and outdoors, so you can have all your devices sitting outside with you and not experience any lag. You can have your phone, your laptop, your iPad, your television, all working on the same internet, playing different screens, moving all around so you can watch everything at one time. You don't have to miss a thing. So call Nathan and Michael at 803-948-8327. That's 803-948-8327. Or visit them online at integratedmediainc.com.
Fair Road at I-77, still a report of an accident there and getting things cleaned up I-26 eastbound before exit 125. Some passing clouds, 90 today. No rain in the forecast. What a concept. Partly cloudy tomorrow, 92 for the high. Then on Friday, it'll be 85 with a chance for scattered thunderstorms. That chance will continue into Saturday with a high of 82. 73 right now on the early game.
Hour number 2 of the early game starts right now. I'm Elijah Campbell. He's Preston Thorne. She's Jen Jensen. And I have one question for Preston Thorne this morning.
Hello. Do you want to play a game?
What do you say?
Yes, I guess so.
That is the correct answer. Because if the answer was no, we're still playing one anyway. Just like in the movie Saw, that's a rhetorical question.
Yeah, yes.
Because when you heard that, you're playing the game regardless.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, if you are looking at the TV and Jigsaw's asking you the question, you should know that it is not to be answered because you are already participating.
So now what type of game are we playing?
It's a little less nefarious than the movie Saw.
All right.
Just for the understatement of the day. But I call this cash or pass. Now, there have been previous renditions of this type of game that might not be FCC appropriate, but this is college football version, cash or pass. So here's the premise, right? We're going to pretend, Preston Thorne, that I'm giving you $1,000.
Okay.
Don't ask for $1,000. I ain't got it for you. But in this situation, $1,000 that you can bet on one college football playoff team to win it all. So you think about this in your mind as you're going through this exercise. I'll give you one team. That's like the baseline team. I'll then present you with another team. Now, if team 2 is one that you'd rather put that $1,000 on, then you would say cash. But if that's not, and you still prefer team 1, you think they have a better chance at winning the national title, you can just say pass. And then you keep that team, and then a new team is presented all the way up until we empty the clip on teams. Make sense?
Let's go.
Right,
I think I got it.
I've done this with 3 people yesterday and got 3 different results from people. I workshopped it a little bit. So here's the first one. The first team that I'm giving you is LSU.
Baseline.
That's the baseline team.
Okay.
Now, cash or pass, Oregon.
Cash.
Okay.
Cash it.
He's cashing it. Now he's got Oregon. Cash or pass, Alabama.
Pass.
Pass. Okay. Passing on Alabama, still at Oregon. Preston saying yes to quack. Cash or pass, Georgia. This is tough.
Pass.
Pass. Passing on Alabama and Georgia. So Preston still holding on to Oregon. Cash or pass, Notre Dame.
Pass.
Pass. Despite them naming C.J. Carr, the grandson of Lloyd Carr, as the starter. We'll get into that a little bit.
No, because they named him. Not despite.
Not despite. Because. A true freshman. That is a tall task. Cash or pass. He's got Oregon right now. Cash or pass, Clemson. Oh, look at the look on his face if you're watching on YouTube right now.
Cash.
He's in pain.
He doesn't like doing this. He does not want to do this. I'm forcing Preston Thorne to do something he does not want to do, but he is reluctantly saying cash. So now the team that he'd be placing his hypothetical $1,000 on is Clemson for now.
I don't like the way this is going now.
We got 3 teams left, so there's a chance that you might end up
I know.
with Clemson.
I know. Back me into a corner here.
Hey,
I backed myself
you put
into-
yourself in this
Put
corner.
myself, yeah.
You have free will in this
True.
game.
All right, here we go. Let's go. Man up, Preston. Let's go.
Okay. You got Clemson right now. Cash or pass, Ohio State.
Cash.
Cashing on Ohio State. No concern.
No. Pass.
Pass. Okay. Pass on Ohio State.
Yeah.
Still with Clemson. Two
Come on,
teams
man.
left.
Why are you doing this to me, man?
Cash or pass.
People are listening. This is going to be on air. I have Gamecock bona fides that I need to protect, and you're making me do this.
Oh, no one's listening to this. This is just a conversation between friends.
All right.
All right. He still has Clemson. Cash or pass. Penn State.
Come on, man. Big James. Big game, James. Get out of here.
Preseason number 2. I mean, they are one of the favorites to win the national championship.
Pass.
All right. Cash or pass. The last one.
Come on, man.
Texas. This is tough. There are some question marks with Texas, but there are a lot of knowns. I think maybe Anthony Hill might be the best player in college
express
football.
purposes of this game and the way the layout was designed.
Yes. This is like this is a different way to get to a confidence meter. I could just ask you a confidence meter on all these teams on who would win the national championship. But if you have
Pass on Texas.
money on the line, passing on Texas. Therefore, Preston Thorne would put his $1,000 most confidently on Clemson. That's the entire AP top 10. And only twice in the since 2004, only twice has somebody outside the top 7 won the national championship.
So nobody outside of 7 has won the national championship preseason.
Only twice.
Two
Yes.
times.
That would be 2010 Auburn. They were number 24, but they also had number 2 on the team, who was pretty
Number 1.
darn good. Who was number 1 in the Heisman voting, and then 2013 Florida State, who was number 11.
Okay, that's the one that's an anomaly.
So those two are the anomalies
All right.
in modern college
My
football.
other question, you said you ran the test run with this exercise, correct?
Yes.
Who were the other teams that survived?
So one, Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
The other one, Texas. The other, Clemson. I did it with 3 different people and got 3 different results.
So Clemson got 2, or
Yep.
am I one?
You are
of
the second Clemson.
person to pick Clemson. I guess what I'm hearing, again, listen, if you're listening to this and you're hearing what I'm saying, I've been pretty consistent. I believe if you have a coach, I believe if you have a quarterback, I believe if you have those 2 things in place, you have an opportunity to win. A lot of those teams do, but I feel very highly about William Christopher Sweeney being in big game situations because he has been.
He's done it. Yeah,
he's done it
one
several
of 2
times.
coaches in the entire sport that have won multiple
And the
titles.
quarterback is not only talented, but he's experienced, and that's a tough combination. That's something that I would bet on. We talked about guarantees yesterday. That's something that I would bet on.
And that's the whole purpose of the exercise, too, is also kind of getting down into the soul of what you value, what you trust the most with a football team. Like with a few of these teams, too. Ohio State. If instead of Julian Sand being the quarterback, this will be his first year as a starter, let's just say Will Howard was back. Would you have picked Ohio State? Even with all the other losses, everything else being equal with the exception of Will Howard coming back as quarterback.
Yes, probably. Maybe there's a possibility.
Possibility.
Yes, because my reason for picking Ohio State would be strictly, I would maybe discount the coach. That's probably where my minus comes for them, and it's not because he's not a good coach. Obviously, he is. He's a national champion coach, and they've won a lot of games. But I just don't see him ever taking his team above where they are.
Where an expectation is. They're expected to be the national
They don't
champion
win because of Ryan Day. And it's not despite he doesn't take them backward. He's a caretaker of their program. I don't think he takes them. He's not a riser for that program.
Even from just a player development standpoint, I threw this out earlier in the week when I went through and looked at the amount of the programs and the amount of non-4 or 5-star, non-blue chip players that end up getting drafted. This is since Shane Beamer took over in 2021. So from the 2022 draft onward, Ohio State's had only 5 players that were non-blue chip players get drafted.
So they have a ton of dudes, but at the same time, they don't it's not necessarily developing. I'm just saying the increase, the ceiling.
Yes.
Ray doesn't raise the ceiling for them.
Because you still, those 4 or 5 stars still need to max out their potential. And he does a good job of letting them max out their potential. But they have an advantage in recruiting. It's one of those inherent advantages that Scott Frost says you can just buy championships. It's not necessarily true. You still have to make sure those players reach their potential. We see 4 or 5 star players that become just other guys, Jags, I guess, as people would say, in college football. There's still an element of having to develop them. But Ohio State's one of those interesting things, too. I think other teams on here, when you go through it, there's always 1 or 2 questions that maybe would prevent you from picking them. Alabama was the Ty Simpson factor at quarterback, that being just a big unknown, a big reason to not pick Alabama in that situation? I think it is. And I think that is for a lot of people. I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of people, we even had comments when we did the exercise of which preseason AP top 10 team won't be ranked by the end of the year. We did have a couple of people say Alabama. And I think if they had a starting quarterback who at least had a year's worth of experience underneath their belt, the perception of that changes a little bit.
Right, because we look at Kalen DeBoer's track record. His rise to success came with Michael Penix Jr., an NFL quarterback. Mm-hmm. His sustained success at Alabama was with Jalen Milroe, an NFL quarterback. We don't know what the verdict is still very much out on Ty Simpson, on what he's going to be, and we just haven't seen that part of Kalen DeBoer's game. So that's a question mark that I have. And
really, when we do the Preston Thorne test on all of these teams, maybe the one that has the most reliable quarterback-coach combination outside of that, Texas, maybe? I mean, we saw Arch has started games. Now, the best team that he's had to start a full game and start a game and play the full game against was Mississippi State. The games he started were UTSA, Louisiana Monroe, Mississippi State. Mississippi State went 2-10 last year. It's a small sample size, played very well in that sample size. And then when the spot snaps he had to play and he had to appear in, played well, but that's different than starting an entire 12-game regular season. I think a lot of us agree that Steve Sarkisian, good coach. I would say he is the best play caller in college football on the offensive side. But does that match what other teams have had in the past when it came to winning national championships coming into a season?
And that's where the question mark will be. My question mark is still for Arch. Can he sustain for a full season, taking on the ups and downs of the SEC schedule? Not just getting hyped up for 1 start or 2 starts every single week, week in and week out. I'm not saying he can't. We just haven't seen him do it.
Yeah. I think he can. I'm one of those. I think he will be a really solid quarterback. And the fact that he doesn't have to be great because he's got a really good team around him. They're a program now that just simply reloads with talent. Their resources have gotten them really good players, and Steve Sarkisian's shown that he can develop them a little bit, or he can at least get them to do what Ohio State does, and that's have those players max out their potential. They bring a lot of really good players back, especially on the defensive side of the ball. There are games where Arch Manning only has to maybe engineer two touchdown drives and a field goal drive, and that could be good enough to win them some games.
I saw a clip yesterday. I read something where Arch Manning says when he gets off the phone with his grandfather doesn't say, "I love you." He says, "Get down or get out of bounds." That's how they end phone calls.
Get down or get out of bounds. How much do you think Archie has ever sent Arch clips of Lamar Jackson avoiding contact?
Listen, get down or get out of bounds. That's how they end their phone calls.
That's actually kind of cool.
That's funny. Because he's probably getting flashbacks from having to play in New Orleans as a professional, where he did nothing but get thrown to the ground,
ragdolled,
getting ragdolled, just getting absolutely beaten to a pulp at quarterback, and he's probably still experiencing some of those bumps, bruises, and pains that he took many decades ago. And is saying, don't be like me.
Because Arch is the only one, he never had to have that conversation with Peyton or Eli, because they were not going to make anything happen with their feet.
Oh, no. They the pocket was the pocket to Peyton and Eli was the same thing as being on house arrest, right? It's like they had an ankle monitor in the pocket, and if they left it, it would start beeping, and they'd get arrested. They did not leave the pocket whatsoever. That was not their thing. If you saw Peyton Manning running college, it's the funniest thing on the planet, because he just takes these very uncomfortable-looking long strides and isn't moving very fast doing so. It's like running in quicksand. Arch has some wheels to him, and he's not afraid to run a little bit.
Arch
And he
can move
will
a
take
little
some
bit.
contact.
Right. So, yeah, get down and get out of bounds, kid.
That's definitely a bigger part of his game than it was his uncle's. That is for sure. He's got more of his granddad in him in that respect than his uncle's did. So that was the cash or pass game. Our first time playing that. Might have to bring this back later.
I didn't
on
like
for
the
different
results of that.
You didn't like the results of that, but I feel like it's the ultimate test of confidence in a team winning the national title. And Preston did say his hypothetical $1,000 would be on Clemson to win the national championship out of all the teams that's in the preseason top 10. Coming up next, as we do every morning at 7:15, it's the early game morning meeting. That's next. School is back in session and football season isn't just around the corner. My friends, it's here. So there's going to be a lot more occupying your thoughts and your time. And sometimes something like cleaning the home might be back of mind. And if it's that for you and you need that just taken care of, Zero Res has a promotion for you. For a limited time, get a free hallway cleaned with 3 rooms of carpet for only $129. So just get those 3 rooms of carpet for $129 and you get a free hallway cleaned. That can take a lot off your plate as our lives start getting a whole lot busier. Their patented zero water technology leaves zero residue behind, hence the name Zero Res. Very easy to remember, leaving your surfaces cleaner for longer. And of course, ask about Zero Res's commercial cleaning services too. Call now, 803-262-4020. That's 803-262-4020. Or you can easily schedule online at zerorescolumbia.com.
Farrow Road at I-77. Still trying to get that earlier tie-up cleaned up. And aside from that, things looking fairly good across the Midlands. 90 for the high today with a few clouds. Some clouds tomorrow, 92. We can definitely handle that. Next chance for some rain, looking like it should be Friday. Maybe a scattered thunderstorm on Friday and Saturday. 85 and 82 will be your temperatures going into the weekend. 73 right now on the early game.
As we do every morning, it's time for a little positivity and a little recap of what's going on in the world of sports and maybe a lesson to be learned here because Preston has been depressing some folks on the Firehouse Subs text line, and we'll read those here. But first, it's time to get started with our morning meeting.
Good morning. Good morning. Repeat after me. Today will be an awesome day.
Yes, it will.
Let's
Calling it
go.
now.
Good morning, great today. Today will be an awesome day. Good morning, great today. Today will be an awesome day.
Now, where do we start with this? That's the first question because there's a lot to go here. We have some updates, or should we address?
Let's address it.
Let's address it because we did cash or pass, and Preston did end up with Clemson. Now it's all in good fun.
I was playing the game.
He's playing the game. KT from Lexington says, "I will never forget," and in all caps, Preston. That one got a chuckle out of me. That was good.
Kids, we know that name calling is not something that we do. Just because somebody plays a game, doesn't mean you need to call them a tater.
Brad did say his good morning, Tater Thorn.
Name is Preston Thorn. The T does not stand for tater.
You know what the T in Thorn stands for?
No name calling, kids.
Yeah, because that's kind of an ugly one. Yeah.
Oh, man, don't let David Dare hear you.
Yeah,
Captain Dave
I know.
will turn this ship around
I know.
so fast.
I know.
Yeah, right?
So fast.
All right, let's get to the updates.
Oh, let's get to the updates, too. Before that, Hugh, real quick, says everybody's counting out Kirby and them dogs. I don't think that's very smart. And I said unintentional pun, but I like it.
That's a good one.
That's good. Good. I don't think it, yeah. Carry out Kirby. I think it's more counting out Gunnar Stockton, more so than anything else.
Yeah, when I do the quarterback coach matrix, Gunnar doesn't quite meet there for me.
It's not computing at the same level.
All faith in Kirby for sure.
Oh, yeah. It would not be smart to not have faith in Kirby. But some big news around college football, starting with Notre Dame naming a starting quarterback. That would be C.J. Carr. That is the grandson of one former Michigan quarterback coach, Lloyd Carr. So a true freshman beats out Kenny Minchey, who's been at Notre Dame for a couple of years now. They were in a tight quarterback battle. It was even reported by some earlier in the week that Kenny Minchey might have had a little bit of an advantage.
We talked about that.
And we talked about that because this is going to be only the third time ever that Notre Dame is going to have a quarterback making their first ever career start in the season opener.
Yeah, I'm going to keep my eye on this because when you have a quarterback battle that goes this deep, I wonder if Marcus Freeman has the intestinal fortitude to stick with his decision if things start to go wrong early. How long do you stick with the freshman? How many picks can he throw? How many bad drives does it happen before you start to get a little nervous or the fan base gets nervous? So I'm going to keep my eye on this.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's the one thing because that game is right after Carolina and Virginia Tech. So once that game ends and you just flip it over, I think it might be on the same channel. Keep it there. Watch that game. That's something to watch for is how those first couple drives go. And if it's not ideal, and let's say Miami's offense is maybe a little ahead of schedule, they get up one or two scores. If you're Marcus Freeman, you're Coach Denbrock, the OC, Do you consider making that change? And if you do, what does that do for the rest of the team? Because if you make the change and Kenny Minchie's not any better, now you're really dealing with kind of a sticky situation.
Yeah, just to give college football reference, I don't think this is the same situation. I'm not sure the talent level of these guys, but you remember when Saban had Jalen Hurts and Tua, and that was just an ongoing conversation all year. And Jalen kind of kept them at bay long enough until the championship game where Nick Saban was like, we got to do this.
Because at that point, there's no more season left.
Right. But all year, people were clamoring, and that was for Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's
a guy who ended up winning a Super Bowl.
Yeah, the trophy. Yeah, a guy that was a dude. So I just wonder how this will work out. We'll see.
Yeah, it's an interesting storyline to start the year and what is a weekend of loaded storylines. And in the SEC, Alabama running back Jam Miller, who was going to be relied upon to be a big-time rusher for them, I've alluded to for countless times this offseason. Alabama does have a history of being able to win a national championship without elite quarterback play. Greg McElroy was a fine quarterback, not elite. Jake Coker, fine quarterback, not elite. But what those two gentlemen have in the backfield with them, a Heisman Trophy winning running back. And they dominated the run game. So if Ty Simpson's just going to be okay, you got to be able to have a running game that will be elite. Jam Miller was the projected starter, and a guy who had a lot of flashes last year of really good play, has a collarbone injury. He is officially ruled out for the opener versus Florida State. His timetable, a little indefinite.
A lot indefinite. Collarbone is a difficult injury to return from because there's always the risk of you re-injuring it, and you can't control how you fall on your shoulder or how you fall on it. So that's a difficult one.
That could be one of those things where once he returns, it's are you playing hurt or are you playing injured? Mm-hmm. And those are two different things. If you're able to manage pain and there's no risk of re-injury, which isn't always a guarantee, especially when you play football, there will always be a risk of re-injury. What are you able and willing to play through? That's going to be a really big question for him and for Alabama. I still expect them to beat Florida State pretty well, just because I don't know how well Florida State's going to be able to move the ball on Alabama's defense. I still wouldn't even be surprised if they go to Tallahassee and beat them like a drum, just because Alabama's defense is really, really good. But for what that means later on in the season, especially when October rolls around and they have to come here and you're playing a little bit better of a defense, as they will throughout the season, that's something I think that's worth monitoring for the rest of the year as well. For Ohio State, they officially named Julian Sayin the starter for the game versus Texas. I don't think this is a surprise for anybody because I think Sayin was kind of the presumed shoe-in starter going into the year because he was a highly touted recruit, one of those five-star guys, started his career at Alabama, wasn't going to be able to get onto the field, so he transfers to Ohio State, sits behind Will Howard for a year, now is going to make his first career start against the number one team in the country. At home, but the number one team in the country.
Yeah, you say this is what you want, here you go.
Like Notre Dame, like C.J. Carl will be making his first career start on the road against the number 10 team. Sayin gets it against the number one team at home. So now we officially know what the starting quarterback matchup will be for that big noon kickoff and what will be presumably the game of the week to start the season and potentially a national championship preview. Potentially.
Another quick injury, Quentin Joyner, Texas Tech.
That's brutal.
That's going to be tough for them.
Out for the year,
Yeah,
officially.
He's out for the year. Has a lower body injury. I think it's a knee. But the significance of that story is he just transferred from USC. Texas Tech notably made strong investments in their roster, and he was one of them.
He was a big
part of that. So to see how that happens and see how that plays out, that's something to keep an eye on.
Interesting to see how Joey McGuire, the coach at Texas Tech, manages that because the way their roster is constructed, they spent a lot of money on a handful of players, which is good to maybe elevate what your ceiling could be if those players pop. But what that might do is sacrifice some depth. So now you're seeing exactly, we will see this year, not seeing it, we will see how much, if you invest in the top end of your roster, what it does to the depth of your roster. Now we get into like this roster building philosophical question of when you invest that much in just a handful of players, does that come at the expense of depth? And we're going to find that out this year.
We'll be looking to see that. Switching gears real quick, Asia Wilson
Again.
32 points, 12 boards, in a win against the Dream last night.
And 5 blocks.
5 blocks. I need that.
Five blocks, too.
We've said it before. We keep saying it again. She's the most dominant women's basketball player on the planet.
On Earth.
And she will be for a couple years. She's in prime window of winning right now. Her team was not playing well early this year. They have advanced up the standings. I believe they're in 4th right now, moving up. And as long as they have the MVP, they have a chance. So Asia's balling as usual.
Asia Wilson being the best player in the world, a fun tradition. But college football continues their dumbest tradition. We'll elaborate on that next here in the early game.
Hey, it's Jen for Carolina Stone Craftsman just outside Columbia in Chapin. When we redid a couple things and some bathrooms needed some countertops, and we were recommended to go to Carolina Stone Craftsman. Went to visit their amazing showroom, learned that they understand that kitchen and bath projects can really be a significant expense, and they do their very best to deliver the most affordable granite, marble, and quartz while still delivering the highest quality countertops and the absolute best service, and they certainly did for us. They also have an amazing outdoor showroom for some of the hardscape work that they can do. Every step of the process with what we did with them was absolutely fantastic. If you are in the market for countertops for kitchens or baths, I do encourage you to reach out to Carolina Stone Craftsman and tell them Jen Jensen sent you. They're family-owned and operated Carolina Stone Craftsman, just beyond Columbia in Chapin and beyond your expectations. Visit them at carolinastonecraftsman.com. I-20 eastbound at Highway 378, a report of an accident there. Also, I-20 westbound between Bush River Road and Highway 378. The left lane currently blocked due to an accident. So again, that's I-20 westbound between Bush River Road and Highway 378. Going to need to stay right. And a pretty good forecast for a couple days. Not too bad. 90 for the high today, 92 tomorrow. Next chance for rain coming in on Friday with some scattered thunderstorms, a possibility on Friday and actually Saturday. 85 and 82 will be those temperatures. 73 right now in the early game.
Before we dive into what is my favorite stupid tradition in college football, something very uniquely college football, we'll go to the AAA Heating and Air phone lines because Ken wants to give a shout-out to that Irmo Little League team that did it again. 3 games, 1 run given up. Ken, they're pretty dominant.
This is true. I didn't realize they were even in the World Series until last week. I was on cruise for 8 days, and I haven't listened to the radio. I'll be honest with you, I didn't listen to y'all most of the summer. It was just I can only catch a little bit of the broadcast first thing in the morning, just certain sections. So every time I would listen, y'all were talking about something else other than sports, sound like to me. So. Anyway.
Hey man. Hey. Let's get to the let's get here. You can't come in here and criticize the show and let's get to the point. Let's go. Here we go.
I wasn't trying to
Let's go.
Okay, yeah. I just want to know, you say they're real good, and I heard last night that the pitching was exception and this sort of thing. So are they batting average and the hitting's good too, right?
Yeah, I mean, the only loss, they just didn't score, right? They had 5 hits, and they just were unable to bring home a run, and that happens in baseball. That's baseball.
Yeah. And is this true that have they been there since, I remember back, I don't remember the year, but Ernie Bass and his team from, I thought they were from West Columbia, but it might have been Rock Hill or something like that back in the day. Is this the first time they've been there since then? Do you know?
I could not tell you for sure with 100% positivity.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited because I'm pretty sure that's right. But anyway, do you know when they play next?
That would be tonight at 7 o'clock. So appreciate your call, Ken. Yeah, tonight at 7 o'clock, South Dakota, I believe it is.
Okay, and it's on ESPN all the time?
Yes, sir.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot. I'm on. I mean, Carolina's playing here in a week or so, so I'm definitely going to try to get more onto your network. So.
Love it. So appreciate the call, Ken. Yep, tonight 7 o'clock. I believe South Dakota's coming off of a 13-1 loss, so maybe you can catch them a little bit wounded.
Let's hope.
I think you can catch them a little bit wounded.
I hate to say that about kids, but I want our kids to win.
That's right. Yeah, we are pulling for the Irmo Little Leaguers. I think they can pull through. Look, the only loss you have is a 1-run loss, and you got I think you did the math earlier. You have a plus 15 run differential in 3 games.
I like your
chances.
Differential.
That's right. I mean, I like your chances.
And guess what? If they don't win this World Series, maybe they can just claim a World Series like Auburn.
That's what Auburn did. Auburn essentially did that, right? So there's a report on On3. This came from Justin Hawkinson, who has been covering Auburn on 3 for a while, covered Auburn sports for a long time. Auburn is adding the 1910, 1914, 1958, and 2004 seasons as national champions. So they're claiming those national championships. Now, in reality, Auburn has won only 2. I believe the first one was 1958, and then the other one was some fella named Cam Newton winning them another one in 2010. But according to Auburn, those 2 aren't the only ones. Not 58. I think there's another one in the 50s. because 58 is one of the claimed ones. But they added 4 invisible trophies to the trophy case.
See, here's the thing about reality, though, because reality is only what you make it after a while. And so here's why this is such a stupid story, a silly college football story, but also a little bit serious because, Elijah, do you realize that 1910 championship in which they went 6-1 that year, that was granted to them by the Maxwell ranking system? Do we know who Maxwell is? Do we know who or what Maxwell is?
I'm sure he's a great guy, but I don't know him.
Lauren Maxwell. He exists today in 2025, and he went back and gave them that championship retroactively. This is not a newspaper that was done in 1910 that granted them this at this time. This is just a dude that was going through being a nerd.
Total nerd.
Being a nerd, right? He's just a dude who's being a nerd, and he gives them a national championship. An independent, non-NCAA recognized selector. I can give. Can I start giving out titles now?
Man, here we go.
I'm inspired. We have a show project.
So that was that one. Then the 1914 one that was given out by the James Howell Power Ranking System. Who's James? James is just a dude. Another
Just like
dude
us.
who's giving out titles. And so why this is such a very fun college football story, but also kind of serious, is because in the future somebody's gonna say, oh, yeah, Auburn did win 9 national championships. And people are going to actually recognize that as a thing, when it is, in fact, never was, and it still is not a thing. So Auburn is just creating rankings out of thin air who are not recognized by anybody but these people who just made them.
And why would Auburn go along with that?
Well, because now they get to say they have half of the 18 titles that Alabama claims, which, by the way, nobody knows if those are legitimate either. And so this is a very silly story, but I do think it's a cautionary story when you start just making stuff up, because the things that eventually are made up is what people remember as fact, and is in fact not a thing.
This has inspired me.
How many Heisman Trophy winners do we have at Carolina then?
We can claim more.
Well, see, that's the thing. You have to go back before these things were happening. So there were no titles made, and so these guys just go back and make up this wild.
I'm trying to think what we can do for us. Yeah,
make up something.
It's a project.
I've already started the process. I want to start the process of crowning the 1903 South Carolina Gamecocks, who did go 8-2, national champions. Now, I want to find out more about the 1903 season.
Mm-hmm. Tough year. I mean, they were 8-2. There may be some other teams that were, if there's no championship granted for 1903, the Elijah Campbell power ranking system, which we can establish today. just like the Lauren Maxwell and Kyle Matschke.
I can make it like an LLC. And at that point, then it's official. And then I can just present my work over to the university. We can claim 1903.
You wouldn't be the first Phantom LLC to be made.
No, I would not. I won't be the first, and I won't be the last either. I'm inspired.
All I'm saying is just pay attention, because in the years in the future, somebody's going to say Auburn won 9 national titles. And you'll be like, it's not true.
Fact check. Yes.
Wow.
That's all I'm saying.
So 1903, I think we can all get on the bandwagon. Maybe if I have to sign petitions or pass them around, I think we can all agree that we can give South Carolina a national title under their belt.
And you know what? As we pass around the petitions, we need to get some of Mrs. Beamer's cookies and hand those out with it, so we guarantee we'll get the signatures.
See, that would guarantee me to start it, because that became a hot button topic of people online when they watched the Netflix
a hot
documentary
gooey
series.
Topic.
Hot, gooey, delicious topic. People accused Emily Beamer of making undercooked cookies. I, as a Big J journalist yesterday, got to try them myself. So we'll give the review, and I'll tell you if Emily beat the undercooked cookie accusations. That's next here in the early game.
Preston, for Cato's Power Equipment. Listen, we've been trying to tell you for a long time that Cato's Power Equipment is the folks that you need to see. They've been serving the Midlands for over 40 years, since 1983. Matter of fact, since we're just making our rankings, we can say they are the greatest power equipment company on the planet, since we can just make rankings up. Like Auburn. At Cato's, they're proud to offer a wide selection of new and pre-owned mowers, tractors, and more. So if you're ready to invest in something new, the friendly team is there to make the process easy, help you choose the right equipment, and find financing options. Whether you're a weekend warrior or a seasoned landscaping pro, Cato has you covered. With a huge selection of new and pre-owned mowers, powerful tractors, and all the gear you need to tackle any outdoor project. So swing by Cato's Power Equipment today or call us at 803-254-3711. That's Cato's Power Equipment at 803-254-3711.
If I learned anything in journalism school. Sometimes the job requires getting to the bottom of things. When accusations are made, getting to the bottom of certain things and finding out the truth is what we're supposed to do. And I'm using my powers for the really important things.
Okay.
Like cookie baking accusations of them being underbaked.
So the impetus of this story is that while Shane Beamer and crew were on the Any Given Saturday show on Netflix, there was a it wasn't a picture of the story, but there was a picture of some cookies that were made.
Yes.
And the internet does what the internet does, fixated on it, and they accused the Beamers of having undercooked cookies. I think it was a fair accusation.
Yeah.
By my eyesight, I was like, might be. But I didn't taste them, so I don't know.
You didn't taste them, that's right.
But really quickly, before we get to you, I need to have some bona fides before I trust your review.
Yes.
What's your favorite cookie?
Chocolate chip.
What's your favorite, okay, but what's your favorite chocolate chip cookie?
Like favorite chocolate chip cookie?
Yeah, like do you have a favorite place that makes cookies? Do you have a favorite type? Do you bake them? Like these are some questions that I need to know to figure out whether or not I trust your review.
See, the best cookies I ever had in my life, Bake Sales Elementary School.
Okay. Okay.
It's usually made by parents. So, but they're all very soft. I wouldn't even say they're undercooked. I say they're adequately cooked. I appreciate a softer cookie. Now, some people like the edges a little more crisp, or a crispier cookie. Don't love it, right? If I want to eat a crispier chocolate.
How do you feel about the new development of sea salt on these chocolate chip cookies?
Not a huge fan.
Okay.
That's, not my cup of tea.
All right, Jen.
As we'd say around these parts.
I would say we have an uncle who makes really good chocolate chip cookies, and you can taste just a hint of salt, and it's primo.
Like just a hint.
Just a hint.
I'm just getting the scouting report on you. All right, proceed.
I have
fine line.
I do have a music bed for you for this segment.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, perfect.
About other things, C is for cookie. That's good enough for me. C is for cookie.
I will say, when I was in college, I love chocolate chip cookies. And there was one time where I was on a road trip with some friends after Thanksgiving, and my friend's mom made like an entire thing of chocolate chip cookies. And of course, we passed them around in the car. We were on this road trip. And I asked everybody, is everybody done? I can take care of these if they want. They're like, you're not going to eat all that. I mean, there's like 30 cookies in this thing.
Oh, wow.
I have no self-control. I have none at all. Ate the entire thing. So I would be referred to as the cookie monster.
Oh, that's funny.
Occasionally.
Okay,
so
well,
that's
there you go.
very appropriate. Very appropriate. But I'm giving these, I'd say, a 9 out of 10 because it's made the way I like them. It may not be everybody's 9 out of 10, but it's made the way I like them. I didn't think they were undercooked. They were soft. They were chewy. A little fluffy, too. The chocolate in it was fantastic. I loved it.
You're an analytics guy. What was the chip to cookie ratio?
The chip to cookie ratio, I would say it was the chocolate chip took up about 45%, almost 50.
And is there a tipping point where it's too much or too little to make a qualified chocolate
65.
chip? 65 means what?
65 meaning 65% chocolate chip, 35% cookie. I like more. I like a good balance, right?
You like a balanced
I can
cookie.
even live. I can live in the range of 40 to 65%.
Okay. No. Are you semi-sweet?
Good questions.
Chocolate, dark chocolate?
Oh, I am
Milk?
sweet as can be. Give me a cavity. That's what I'm looking for.
Okay.
Mini chips, regular size chips,
Regular size chips,
Okay.
adequately sized chips.
teardrop chips or the square ones.
Teardrop.
Okay. All right. These are just questions that I need to know.
And listen, I prefer the teardrop. These were the teardrop ones. So it matches what my cookie preferences are. So you got to take in the messenger into account here. That's how I prefer it. So, but I will say the biggest thing was the undercooked or underbaked accusations. I would clear her of charges.
So she beat those accusations.
Mrs. Beamer beat the accusations.
Okay. All right. So in consistency and cooking, she beats the undercooked accusations, and that's fair. I will commend Ms. Beamer for taking the challenge.
She took
because she could have
100%.
ran, she
Head
could have
on.
hid. She took the challenge head on, and we will see.
Ducking no smoke. I appreciate that from any part of the program.
Mm-hmm.
But I liked it. That's the thing. Again, I am obsessed with chocolate chip cookies. That's a way to my heart.
Mm-hmm.
I will even just eat the dough. I have a thing of cookie dough at my house right now that I consumed half of in one night. Because again, I have no self-control. I can't stop myself. I can't be left to my own devices. And one of the best parts of adulthood is that I can do that, and my mom can't tell me I can't. She can't stop me. She's too far away to stop me.
There you go.
So the accusations have been beat. Hour number 3 coming up next. If you have a leak, let Midstate Roofing take a peek, because for nearly 30 years, the folks at Midstate Roofing have been the proven leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry. And at Midstate Roofing, they'll give you and provide the proper advice, service, and most importantly, results. It's a results-based industry here to the needs of your facility. It doesn't matter if it's high-rise or hospital or manufacturing to industrial. Midstate Roofing designs and installs those bonded systems with a protective capital G guarantee that will keep your operation dry and running long into the future. One of my favorite parts about Midstate Roofing, versatility. I love that in an athlete, love that in a company as well, because if you have an issue that you need resolved after hours, you can always call Midstate Roofing at 803-356-1919 to still be able to talk to an on-call technician. Again, that number, 803-356-1919, or you can schedule online at midstateroofing.com. And remember, if you have a leak, let Midstate Roofing take a peek.
I-20 eastbound at Highway 378. Still working earlier tie-up there. The previous accident, I-20 westbound between Bush River Road and 378, that appears to still be causing a little bit of a slowdown. So just be mindful of that. I-20 westbound between Bush River Road and 378. 90 with some clouds today. 92 tomorrow, partly cloudy. Some scattered thunderstorms coming in Friday and Saturday. Highs on Saturday, or high on Friday, that is. 85, 82 on Saturday. Currently trying to warm up just a little bit. 74 on the early game.
Hour number 3 starts right now. This is the early game. I'm Elijah Campbell. He's Preston Thorne. She's Jen Jensen. And as we're starting to do, as we lead up into the season, we will kill 2 birds with 1 stone. We are going to learn a little slang, because I'm slightly out of the loop. I mean, I'm definitely not Gen Z. I am firmly millennial. So I like to learn new slang, especially if it comes from better sources that's not Eli Drinkwitz, because the term stand on business is something I heard for the first time when Eli Drinkwitz told Josh Heupel that after a game.
That is wild.
Which immediately made me hate the term. Immediately. Because it came from him.
That is wild. I mean, it's not wild that that's the first time you heard it, but it's the wild that it's the first time you heard it was from him. And he was such a dork when he said it to Heupel, because he said it and he ran away, and it was so silly. But he was like, I told my players I was going to say it, so I said it. And it was almost like he was trying to complete a dare. So, yes, we're going to be trying to walk ourselves and our audience through some terms you may hear, and you may be confused, because here's the deal. You got to know the world that's going on around you. People are using words around you. You don't know what they mean. You need to know what's happening. Just being aware.
Even in my own family. So I am 2 of 4, right, in terms of siblings. My 2 younger siblings will use terms that I have never heard in my life.
Yeah, and when this happens to you, you can be bold and stop the press and say, hey, I don't know what that means. Or you can just take a mental note, which is what I do, and then I go back and look it up later.
Right? Don't admit you don't know it.
Yeah.
Look it up later.
Just take a mental note, like, man, they just said several words. I have no clue what they mean. I'm going to go look this up later, because you will not be speaking around me as if I don't exist. I do want to know these words. So yesterday we looked at, what was our word for yesterday?
That was such a long time ago.
I know, yesterday was such a long time ago.
Yes, mid. That's right.
Yesterday our day was mid.
Who is mid?
Yes, we
in
talked about
football.
who was mid, whether or not there were teams that were mid. And today, continuing the trend, today we're going to look at maxing.
Maxing. See, now, back in my day, which wasn't that long ago.
I like it.
Maxing was just the day in the weight room where you are going as hard as you can on every single thing, whether it's bench press, squat, whatever, just seeing how much you can do. The same kind of applies today with maxing. How would you define that?
So I would define maxing as when you are taking something to the extreme, often for performances, often for people to watch or to see. So like, the phrase made it come from this idea of, they call it like looks maxing, where you're trying to maximize all of the looks that you have. So you're doing all these extreme activities to take your looks to the top. But with all slang, it doesn't just stop there. So if you was doing like sleep maxing would be like, if you're sleep maxing, you have the perfect bed, and you put the eye cover on, and you get in the perfect temperature, and you put on the Tempur-Pedic pajamas or something like that. You're trying to maximize your levels of sleeping, and this can apply to anything. Now, obviously,
yes,
we're going to take this term and apply it to sports.
Yes. So, for instance, when you brought this up, I loved your example, because it's the most Preston Thorne example.
I loved it.
On the planet. 13 personnel, Stanford, back in the day. Andrew Luck at quarterback, having a dominant running back. We forget Stanford in their peak, in their prime. Toby Gerhart, Christian McCaffrey, 2 game-changing running backs. You could probably argue either of those fellas should have won a Heisman, but ran a lot of 13 personnel, which is 1 running back and 3 tight ends.
Tight end maxing.
That is tight end maxing.
That's correct.
Arthur Smith is somewhere smiling deviously.
How can I get more tight ends into this formation?
Can we do 15 personnel?
whatever.
How many tight ends can I put in a formation?
Works. So that is tight end maxing. So you'll see this sort of develop amongst different things. Now you brought up the situation of whether or not Tennessee was trying to uniform / look max with their new apparel deal. What do you think?
I think it's more financial maxing. Because, in my personal opinion, some of you might think differently, and that's fine. I think Nike apparel has always looked better than Adidas when it comes to college football uniforms. I think it's a more innovative look. I still think Adidas is responsible for the most atrocious jersey campaign of all time. For those who can remember all the way back to 2011, 2012, when in the college basketball season, teams that were wearing Adidas would have like a certain jersey top and shorts that almost like tiger striped, but were colors matching the team colors. And they did that for a couple of years. Louisville won a national championship in those, I believe. And they were disgusting.
You saying those are the worst?
The worst. Disgusting. A crime against humanity. One of the worst jersey campaigns in the history of college sports. And people don't forget, certainly not me, because I thought they were so ugly. They looked like board shorts. It looked like all the fellas out there were wearing swimming trunks. It was awful, especially when Baylor would wear them and they were like highlighter green. Disgusting. So for what Tennessee is doing, maybe not fashion maxing, financial, because Adidas is kind of making them a flagship school, maybe in a way that Nike does with Oregon or Under Armour does with Maryland. They're paying them a lot of money, and the University of Tennessee will make a lot more money that way by being an Adidas school, and that's why they made the change. And that's applicable here as well for whenever the Under Armour contract
So if we're going back to talking about the concept of maxing, you would say that Texas Tech is transfer portal maxing on their roster.
Oh, for sure.
Right?
Because they are spending money left and right. Transfer portal maxing, NIL
maxing.
Mm-hmm. Because they were able to fork over a lot of money for a highly touted offensive line recruit. And they forked over a lot of money for a softball pitcher, which, of course, generational talent that she is, got them to a national championship series almost by herself, maybe the most dominant stat lines for any college athlete that I can remember or just summon to my memory. But that is financially maxing to the point where you're trying to make that apply to the field. Texas Tech in football did that a ton. And, of course, they have an injury with the running back, and we're going to see exactly how much that maxing helps when it comes to providing depth for your team.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say Texas Tech did a significant amount of transfer portal and NIL maxing.
So for review, yesterday was mid. All right, we talked about the teams and the coaches that were significantly mid. My winner for yesterday was Matt Rule, who's 59 and 56, which is the definition of mid.
The Jeff Fisher of college football.
Jeff Fisher of college football. He's absolutely mid. And today we are talking about maxing, which is when you take one attribute and you try to push it to its extremes. So whether you're Stanford with the tight ends, maybe you were some of those. So if we're talking about football-wise, when you're talking about offensive formations, if you go 5 wide receivers, now you're wide receiver maxing.
Receiver maxing.
Right? So
yeah,
now
air raid offenses, Mike Leach was the master of wide receiver maxing.
Throw the ball 65 times in the game.
Oh,
you're maxing.
Oh, buddy, you are. I still think back to that Texas Tech-Oklahoma game, Baker Mayfield versus Patrick Mahomes, where I think both guys threw the ball over 50 times. And just going back on it, maybe one of the most absurd stat lines in the history of college football. That game alone was the ultimate pass maxing season, I would say.
Another example on offense, the wishbone.
Ooh.
Obviously an example of maxing because we're putting as many people in the backfield as we possibly can. The jumbo package.
Ooh, yes, the jumbo package.
Right, when we're bringing all the big guys in to run the play, that's an example of maxing. So you'll see
the
this.
Tush push, does that count? Would we count the tush push as a certain type of maxing?
Yes.
Even though you're not a fan.
Not a fan.
You would have voted to ban it.
Oh yes, I would vehemently vote. I will march for that. I will march, picket, sign petitions, whatever I need to do for that. But yes, it's the idea of taking and taking something to the extreme. So again, when you hear these words, just mark them down. You know what they mean. You know what they mean in the sports context.
Now, the game I'm thinking of, October 22nd, 2016, the ultimate pass game maxing. Patrick Mahomes is the quarterback for Texas Tech. Baker Mayfield, the quarterback for Oklahoma. Now, misremembered here because Baker Mayfield only threw the ball 36 times, but he did complete 27 of them for 545 yards, 7 touchdowns, no interceptions. Would you like to guess how many times Patrick Mahomes threw the football?
I just recently saw the stat, and it blew my mind again. The number is way higher than I could even quote. What is it?
Now, he completed 52 passes. He threw 88 times, and his arm, somehow after the game, still attached to his shoulder, and was able to make a pretty good career of it afterwards. He threw for 734 yards in that game.
And
5 touchdowns, 1 interception, And Oklahoma beat Texas Tech 66-59 in football. That is point maxing.
You brought up two quarterbacks, which would lead me to another coach who has not yet beat my allegations of being mid. Cliff Kingsbury.
Ooh. Still fitting. You still have the mid tag. Fair as a head coach.
As a head coach.
Certainly.
Yes.
Certainly mid. As an offensive coordinator, I think he beats those allegations.
Okay.
It's kind of like the Liam Cohen thing, right? I need to see more from Liam Cohen as a head coach because we just don't have that sample size, the NFL level. But as a coordinator, good history of developing quarterbacks. I think that would definitely beat any type of mid allegation for the offensive coordinator position. In terms of maxing too, Iowa, punt maxing?
Absolutely.
Punting, where punting is offense?
Absolutely. Punt maxers, Iowa.
And in terms of programs, to bring it a little more localized here, South Carolina, historically, defensive back maxing.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that.
In the 21st century, specifically, because that's where the big run comes in.
So can we get real granular here real quick? Clayton White, would you consider Clayton White a blitz maxer based on his call structures?
Ooh, I think for him it almost depends on game. Because I think last year they got really comfortable whenever they knew that pass rush was getting home. That was like the luxury they had was Dylan Stewart and Kyle Kennard were just getting home so often. You didn't really have to blitz a corner or a safety a ton because you had a luxury of having two really good dudes, capital D dudes, on the edge to be able to get to a quarterback at any given time. You would like for them to not have to be blitz maxing this year because that tells you that Dylan Stewart's getting home and pressuring the quarterback. And whether it be whoever's on the other end of it, whether it's Damon Clowney, whether it's Desmond Umazulu, Brian Thomas Jr., JT Gear, whoever, if they're not blitz maxing, I think that is a good sign for the defense, a sign of health on the defense.
Steve Spagnuolo for Kansas City, blitz maxer.
100%.
I like it.
Maybe the master of the exotic blitz.
Like it.
And that's the one thing that tripped people up so many times last year, right? Like the Chiefs' defensive structure, like with their roster and personnel, I love it. It's great. Did it have any business being like the best defense in football last year? Maybe not. I mean, Chris Jones, all-world. Trent McDuffie, really good on the back end. You have some studs on that defense. But Steve Spagnuolo has such a good history of just confusing and duping every quarterback that he plays against that I think he gets more out of his units than maybe some defensive coordinators do.
Will Muschamp, 50-yard plus field goal that's inconsequential maxer.
Is there a level above maxing? I know the term maxing itself insinuates that there is no more, but if there is, that's Will. Rose Coach Muschamp. So there's plenty.
Is that Muschamping?
Muschamping.
Muschamping is maxing.
Down 3 scores in the fourth quarter, kicking a 55-yard field goal. I think that counts. I think that counts as unnecessary field goal maxing as well. We'll continue this and discuss some of what we heard yesterday because the players spoke, Coach Beamer spoke a little bit, and Mike Shula has quite the interesting motivational tactic. We'll touch on all of that next here in the early game. We were just talking about maxing in that last segment. Well, there's one company that is maxing when it comes to protecting your home, and that would be Midstate Roofing. And they've been maxing in the roofing business for nearly 30 years. Preston, am I doing this right? I'm doing this right. You got the approval. I've got the term down because Midstate Roofing has been doing that for nearly 30 years. Roofing and waterproofing industry been A+ at keeping your home or your business dry and running long into the future. From high-rise to hospitals, manufacturing to industrial, they design and install bonded systems with a protective guarantee, really merging a few of the themes of the show the last couple of days here, that will keep your operation dry and running long into the future. Sounds good to you? Sounds good to me. 803-356-1919. That's the number to call, and they want to remind you, too, that you can protect that roof with a maintenance contract. Again, the number 803-356-1919 or online at midstateroofing.com. If you have a leak, let Midstate Roofing take a peek.
Two Notch Road at North Grampian Hills Road, an accident. Also, South Lake Drive at Platte Springs Road. Longs Pond Road at Two Notch Road. Also getting a report, Longs Pond Road between Muddy Springs Road and I-20. Laurel Street at Barnwell. And one more to let you know about, I-20 eastbound at Highway 378. As far as forecast goes, not looking too bad. Not seeing any rain in the forecast for a day or two. We certainly will welcome that. Some passing clouds, 90 for the high today. Cloudy tomorrow, 92. By Friday, we're going to have some scattered thunderstorms at a high of 88. Try 88. Currently 73 on 107.5 The Game.
To give you a peek behind the curtain, we got 3 TVs here in the studio. One's the call screener. We got 2 TVs that are usually on ESPN, ESPN2. And on Get Up right now, they were just talking about Mike Shula's unique way of motivating players.
You don't need to tune into the national shoes. We got everything you need right here. It was Mike Greenberg, Elijah Campbell. No difference.
No difference.
Same thing.
And the response is the same from Coach Beamer. It's don't.
Yeah, that was supposed to stay in-house.
The look on his face when he said it, too. It's one thing to hear the clip of him talking about it. It's another thing to see, the smile on his face is like, that wasn't supposed to.
Let's hear the clip. Let's hear the clip. This is number 2, I believe. This is number 2 where he's talking about the fake poop. In case you're just tuning in, I know this is a weird place to tune in.
Out of context, this is very bizarre to hear on your radio, but there is a reason that that's brought up.
I'm well aware. There's certain things that I think need to stay in-house, and that was probably one of them, but yes.
Well, just how did that come about? And once you found out about it, where you're just like, okay, whatever helps?
Kind of whatever. I hire coaches and trust them to do their jobs and whatnot. And I wasn't really aware of it, David. I go to the quarterback meetings most days, and I was in there last week. We had a couple basketball coaches that were here visiting, and I was sitting there with them, and something came up, and Mike told Cutter to go get it, you know what, and I didn't know what was going on, and then Cutter came back carrying the piece of you know what as well, and he kind of enlightened us on the backstory, going back to when he was with the New York Giants and all that as well. So whatever it takes to connect with guys and motivate them, I'm all for.
And it certainly does. I mean, I certainly wouldn't want to have that on my desk. And I think the funniest part about all of this was the basketball coach that he was alluding to having in the building was Shaka Smart. Can't confirm. Saw him there. I had to double take a few times when he walked into the press conference room. I'm like, is that Shaka Smart from Marquette? Sure enough, it was. They observed a day in the life of South Carolina football preseason camp.
Professional development.
Professional development, sitting in on a few meetings, and just the idea of them being in a meeting to try to find out what gives this program a little bit of its edge is fake feces being put on the desk of quarterbacks whenever they go over a mistake in film room is the funniest thing I could possibly imagine Shaka Smart seeing whenever he came to South Carolina's campus.
Yeah, that's
Do you want to be number 2?
Yeah, you get to be number. It's correct. It's correct.
We want to be number 1.
You have to motivate them any way that you can, and obviously, it's made the national news.
It has.
That's amazing.
It has, and it's one of those things too. When you go into a press conference, you're prepared to hear certain things. You get ready for certain things. You get ready to ask certain questions, and every now and then, somebody, rightfully so, asks a follow-up question, which becomes a first in your career, right? And yesterday was definitely a first. I made sure to write this down. Quote, how many times have you had to grab the poop? End quote, as a real question that had to be followed up on in a press conference question. Credit Jordan Kay for asking the question that everybody needed to know about the frequency of this very particular motivational tactic.
This is clip 24, Jen. This is our leader, our fearless leader, Lenora, standing up and answering the tough questions.
Nah, I haven't a lot, but Cutter, Air, those guys have done a lot just because they don't really know the system. So, I mean, obviously, if you don't know it, you're going to make some mistakes, but it happens quite a bit. Jimmy Francis, a lot. It's a lot.
So he has no problem calling out his teammates.
He's like, man, those guys.
Not me, buddy. Not me.
They be grabbing poop.
Those hands stink.
I know the system. I'm good.
Yeah.
Now last year, see, and what's so funny about this is Mike Shula, all last year, he was just a quarterback's coach, right? He was an analyst. He couldn't bring out all his tricks. He's like, man, if I was the OC right now, I'd give you some poop.
I mean, how many times do you think he sat with a notepad and was just charting poop-worthy plays?
Poop play.
That's not something you'll find on PFF. That is not. Maybe he equates them with turnover-worthy plays, but it's not the same thing.
You can't do it when you're just an analyst, though.
No, you can't.
Because you're second in charge. You don't want to mess up. He didn't want to mess up Dow's flow.
He was number 2.
That's exactly. He didn't want to do it. He couldn't do it at the time. So now that he's in charge, the first thing he does, he pulls the old poop out of the box. He's like, I am here.
It's out of all the things, too, about this football team that could have made a national headline, the fact that that's it is one of the funniest things of the preseason.
Great.
Like, on Get Up,
It's great.
it's pretty formulaic, right? Right now they're talking about when could the Browns turn to Dylan Gabriel or Shador Sanders.
Yeah, you know what you're going to get.
Yes.
You're going to get the Cowboys, LeBron,
Lakers.
Dion, and poop. And somehow or another, some producer was just like, hey, guys, I got one. I got one for you.
It's just it comes up on the desk and says, guys, we got to talk about this. We have to interrupt the Micah Parsons contract negotiation talk because Mike Shula is dropping fake feces on the desk of his players during film room.
Love it. Love it.
During a film session.
That's why we love the game.
I will say I've had a lot of different motivational tactics from coaches in the short athletic career that I had. Preston had a good one from back in his day at Somerville High School. But I think that takes the cake. I think it does. Or at least I hope this encourages other programs to talk about their more unique ones that they can share.
No, this is awesome. I'm very glad they shared this with us.
Because Coach Beamer, at the very beginning of that, he said, some things we have to keep in-house. Brother, I'm glad that didn't stay in-house. This is what we needed to know. And
does he at least follow it up where, he says, okay, you did this on my desk, whatever. Okay, now we're in a position, let's flush it.
But that's probably, there you go. There you go. There you go.
Jen, were you in the room? Are you Mike Shula's material ghostwriter?
I can't deny.
I can't dox you, I guess, for being Mike Shula's material ghostwriter. Jen on a generational heater right now.
Having too much fun with this.
Oh, man. Got to catch my breath. But that ended up being one of the main stories from yesterday. A lot of good tidbits about camp itself, though. I think one of those things, one of his main takeaways was, we talked about it earlier, the special teams unit, where he mentioned the operations going a lot more smoothly than it has in previous years. We'll play this one real quick. Cut 12, I asked Coach Beamer about how the special teams battles have been going.
Just the consistency of doing their job, snapping, holding, kicking, punting, as it gets closer to game day. And that's, last Saturday we tried to put them in more tough situations, and 2-minute drive where it's a field goal to win, and they both got, multiple kickers got out there and kicked field goals in that scenario, field goal to win. Try to make it game-like with people screaming, me on the microphone, William Joyce, Mason Love, Peyton Argent, Max Kelly, whoever on the field to attempt a 48-yard field goal or whatever it might be. And just, seeing them go out there and be able to perform and just be consistent, that was the biggest thing as well. And not that they weren't beforehand, but I just saw more consistency out of that on Saturday afternoon.
Positive sign leading into game number 1, which hopefully it's not a one-score game where you need to rely upon one of the kickers to have to win the game for you. You'd like to be a little more comfortable. Even though Virginia Tech, I think, better than people give him credit for. But it's still good to hear that coming out of camp, especially when he leads off with the differences between scrimmage 1, scrimmage 2, what he took away from it. That was like the first thing he mentioned was special teams.
Yeah, you want to grow. We've been very fortunate as a fan base that we have had awesome kickers for a long time. And hopefully that doesn't stop anytime soon. But you don't know what you got till it's gone. And for all of those 40-yarders that we just took for granted, for the longest time as a fan here, 30 and out, we line up for a field goal, you're probably going to go to your fridge and get something to drink.
It's money.
It's money. It's good. Snaps good, holds good, kicks good. And that's not the case all around college football, just to let you know. All you got to do is watch highlights and on any given weekend. So we've been very, very fortunate, and you hope that continues with this new set of dudes that are in.
Another big question mark, the running back room. Shane Beamer said there was a standout in the second scrimmage. We'll tell you who that is next.
Hey, it's Jen Jensen. Discover the unparalleled quality of selection at Mill Street Flooring. They're your go-to destination for the finest luxury vinyl plank flooring in the Midlands. They're the exclusive distributor of Case Luxury Flooring, offering wear levels anywhere from 12 to 28 mils for durability and style. And whether you're a contractor, a builder, or an installer, I know you'll appreciate our factory direct prices and manufacturer's warranties. And the great part is when you select the flooring that you want, you can load it up and take it home because they have it in stock. With samples available and luxury vinyl plank in a wide array of patterns and colors, you could find the perfect flooring instantly. Choose from standard and wider planks to fit any space and any budget. No order, I promise you, is too big nor too small. Visit millstreetflooring.com or call Joe at 803-424-8547 to arrange your appointment at their Lugoff or West Columbia locations. At Mill Street Flooring, there's never a good reason to spend more than you have to. Still have a few slowdowns across the Midlands. Laurel Street at Barnwell, also Longs Pond Road between Muddy Springs Road and I-20. South Lake Drive at Platte Springs Road, also Longs Pond Road at Two Notch, and Two Notch Road at Grampian Hills Road. And that forecast looking kind of nice for the next day or two. Passing clouds, 90 for the high today. Going to see maybe a mix of clouds and sun tomorrow, and a high of about 92. Then we get into the 80s for the weekend and into next week. But we will have a few scattered thunderstorms on Friday and Saturday, possibly into Sunday. Right now, though, 73 on the early game.
Well, it's August 20th, and we'll go ahead and give you our Rasul Faison update. All right, gang, on 3. Have we heard anything else on the Rasul Faison situation? 1, 2, 3. No.
Nada.
Zilch.
Nothing.
Not a single thing. Nothing. We got nothing. I'm afraid. I'm sorry. I do get the question asked often. And unfortunately, the best answer I can give you is your guess is as good as mine. So I think we're all kind of operating under the assumption now that you're going into the Virginia Tech game without the running back that you got from the transfer portal from Utah State, who was projected to be your number 1 starter at the position, which created a necessity to get Isaiah Augustov from Colorado in the spring portal. Augustov. Say his name 3 times in the mirror, he will appear. Mm-hmm. But when talking about some certain standouts in the run game and the running back room, things that he noticed, Shane Beamer did mention one Isaiah Augustov in his performance in the second scrimmage.
Yeah, we're really excited about him. I mean, you forget that he just got here in the summertime. He's got speed. He's got explosiveness. He had the longest run, at least in a scrimmage, of the preseason the other day, where he broke a tackle and had a 60, 70-yard run, which was impressive to see. We need that explosiveness at the running back position for sure, and that's what I've seen. He's a guy that very serious about his work, can run. He's got size. He's got an explosiveness to him when he hits the hole. He's a hard runner, and has been really good for us on special teams as well because of his size and speed of getting downhill.
So that's a positive. The biggest, most explosive run play that he had, or that you've had in the run game and in the scrimmages, came from Isaiah Augustov. 60, 70-yard run. That's what you like to see in the running game. Even if you're going in shorter-handed than you anticipated, having a big play ability is a big plus, especially when you have Lenore Sellers back there, who's always a big play threat anytime he has the ball in his hands.
Yeah, you want to know if he can hit a home run. Can he break a tackle, and finish a run? Defensive thoughts aside, because I never want to hear that on the defensive side. I'm sure Clayton's not happy about that.
2 sides to that coin.
Of course. But you want to be able to know that if given an opportunity, can he get outside, get to the numbers, get to the sideline, and finish? And that sounds like that's what he's able to do.
And that's, to me, a real positive sign. My favorite thing about Isaiah Augustov is when I watched him at Colorado, and I went back and watched a few of his better games at Colorado, the thing that I noticed was he ran really well after contact. He does have a good ability to break some tackles and be able to make what is a 1 or 2 yard gain, or maybe a net 0, turn into 5 or 6. Did that a few times. And some of the games that I watched that I chose because those were the games that he carried the ball in a little higher volume. Wasn't many games last year where he had double-digit carries, but the ones that he did, he was pretty productive in. That's how he ended up being the leading rusher. Again, Colorado just threw the ball a lot last season. But that was what I noticed. And when I asked him on media day, on the player media day, right before camp started, I kind of asked him how he would describe his running style, how he plays. And he mentioned, I make the first guy miss. So his evaluation of himself is making guys miss. And one thing that I noticed just by watching some of his games last year, he was good at making guys miss tackles. I think that if he does show a lot of that, and Shane Beamer certainly sees that, an ability to make guys miss, able to marry those two concepts together, you can have a pretty serviceable running back in Isaiah Augustov who can give you 15 carries a game and be able to be really good, especially in short yardage situations. Those are the type of running backs I feel like you can rely upon if you have to go without Rasul Faison.
Yeah, one of the hallmarks of a solid running back is that you make the first guy miss, or you're never tackled by one guy only. Right? You never tackled by one person. Either you make a miss, or it's going to take more of y'all to take me down instead of just being tackled one-on-one. So that's something that a running back should feel positive about themselves. We shall see. We still haven't heard a lot of news about what the depth chart looks like. And again, as I keep preaching, after the second scrimmage, there's somebody who's taking first team reps.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know.
Someone's
got
to get them.
Somebody knows.
Has to take them.
I don't know. Maybe somebody has more information than I do right now. But there's somebody who's taking first team reps, or maybe there's also somebody who's separated themselves from the pack. We'll see.
Yeah, I really don't mind like a running back by committee type deal. I mean, Georgia was still picking up 6 yards of play last year. A good enough benchmark to get them to not just the college football playoff, but winning the SEC. And they did so without a 1,000-yard rusher. Out of the 3 teams in the SEC that made the college football playoff last year, 2 of them had a 1,000-yard rusher, Trey Wisner at Texas, Dylan Sampson at Tennessee. But Georgia did not have one. They did, however, have 2 600-plus yard rushers on the team, showing that if you do have a couple of guys that are threats to be able to pick up first downs, keep the drives going, be good enough on first down when you run on first down to create second, third, and manageable, then you can still have a really healthy offense that is going to be good enough to win you football games. So if there's not a 1,000-yard rusher in this running back room, I don't think that's a detriment. You can still win games without that if you have a couple of guys who can get you 500 to 600 yards in a season and be able to help you out by just continuing those drives.
Yeah, the thing about that is when you talk about running back by committee, if you don't have the guy, then you need to have 5 dudes in front of him that are blocking. And that's a question we still need to answer for this squad.
That is, because, I mean, you can't tell the story of a running back or running game for a team in a given season without telling the story of the offensive line unit. Georgia going into last year had probably the best offensive line unit projected. Now, they didn't win the Joe Moore Award. Shout out Army for winning that. But they were a solid run blocking unit last year. And that's good enough to get 2 guys to get to 600 yards, right? If you have just a really solid run blocking unit, that makes that really possible. That makes an average running back a good running back. An average running back who maybe has never carried or rushed for over 400 yards in a season can get to 600 if they're not getting touched until 3 yards beyond the line of scrimmage. Then the making the first man miss and having the tackle breaking ability goes a whole lot farther than just having to do it whenever you're getting, the ball immediately in the backfield.
Makes a lot of sense.
Changes things a little bit. So that's one thing that I thought that stood out to me yesterday was how he described Isaiah Gustav and being able to break a home run in a game like that. If the running game's a winner, this offense is going to be a winner. Talking maybe top 20 in the country. We'll give our winners for today's show next to round out the early game. Quick word here from the Ecton Law Firm. Look, if tax troubles have been weighing you down and have been an issue keeping you from maxing your potential, John Ecton and his team at the Ecton Law Firm can help you today. You can call this number, 803-771-9800, and get yourself a free consultation. And I said free. They also have a local team that's been resolving income or business tax issues for good. At the Ecton Law Firm, they certainly understand the challenges that you or your business can face when it comes to dealing with something like that pesky IRS maze, and they are perfectly qualified to give you one of the most important things in life that you can get, peace of mind. Again, you can go ahead and take that first step to a worry-free life today by just calling this number, 803-771-9800. Or you can always open up the computer, get on your phone, and go to ectonlawfirm.com. That's ECTON lawfirm.com. As we do every day to round out the show, we'll give you winners. Quite like we're having a winner coming up. That is the Game Summer Golf Classic, sponsored by Krager Showrooms, formerly the Nest in the Vista, this Friday, August 22nd at Charwood Golf Club. Tee time 9 a.m. Registration starts at 7:30, and if you're still interested, there's one spot left. That's $400 a team. We'll have breakfast, a mimosa bar from Saki's Wine and Spirits, Firehouse subs for lunch. Call 803-755-2000 and press number 2 to sign up. Preston Thorne, your winners for today's program.
Ooh, I get to go first. My winner is going to go to Lauren Maxwell. Any of y'all know who Lauren Maxwell is? You probably don't. Well, Maxwell is the creator of the Maxwell College Football Ranking System. Ooh. What is that? That is the system that granted Auburn its 1910 championship. When did they grant this championship? It wasn't in 1910. It was in the 2000s in which they created this system. And Lauren Maxwell, your life's work has been legitimized by Auburn. Congratulations, Lauren Maxwell. You are a winner for yesterday.
I went to school with a Lauren Maxwell. Don't think that was her.
Doesn't think it was her?
I don't think it could be. Could be. Didn't take her for a college football fan. Could be. Hope she's doing well. Mm-hmm. But that has inspired me to maybe create my own LLC and be on a mission to give the 1903 South Carolina Gamecocks their national championship.
One of our person who tweeted said that maybe there's a claim that we have for that 1965 ACC championship that was removed from us. Maybe we can go back and reclaim that.
Yes.
As well.
So
yeah, all we got to do is have some type of publication, which we can do. The First Amendment grants us that.
Mm-hmm.
That we can go ahead and just give South Carolina a national championship, and then we can hang something up in the building.
Hang the banner.
We can hang a banner. It's that easy. So I think that's inspired me. So the campaign for the 1903 national championship starts right now on August 20th, 2025.
I like it.
A sentence I never thought that I would get to say. One of my winners for today, motivational tactics. All different in various ways. And Mike Shula has a motivational tactic that made Get Up this morning.
That can lead directly to my next winner for today. Mr. Hanky, the Christmas Pooh.
Ah, yes.
Had not thought about that character in a long time.
You brought that up this morning, and I was like, when was the last time I saw an episode with that character in it?
What you may not know, as Wikipedia has told me, is that episode in 1997, sir,
they've been going on for
was the springboard for what we now know as South Park. 28 years later, still rolling on the back of Mr. Hanky the Christmas Pooh.
A long-standing legacy. A long-standing legacy. Mr. Hanky made them a lot of money.
Yeah.
A whole lot of money.
Yeah.
An absolute crap ton of money.
You may know Kenny, you may know Chef, you may know Cartman, but don't forget Mr. Hanky.
Foundational character. May have not been the star. It's almost kind of, I'm trying to think of like what would a good representative, like Logan Mankins on the Patriots dynasty. Not the sexiest star.
I like it.
Not Tom Brady, right? Not, Ty Law, Lawyer Malloy, Teddy Bruschi, but solid for many years. And you don't win without him.
Mm-hmm.
You don't win without him. It's all team. Everything is a team game. Life is a team game. Another winner for today, Jen Jensen, for the generational run of content that we just got talking about Mike Shula's motivational tactic.
You know, sometimes you just get in a person's wheelhouse, and she was there to step up to the moment and knock it out the park.
Oh, she was cooking.
Yeah.
Jen was cooking. I've got a text from one Brad Muller, the voice of the South Carolina women's basketball team, says Jen Jensen is just killing it this morning.
Okay, that is high praise right there.
That is.
Please save that. I'd like to frame that.
I'll screenshot it, and I'll let you be able to print it out so you can put it on your fridge.
Thank you.
Here's the problem, though. Shout out to Brad, because I think of Brad as being so regal with his voice, and he has to listen to us do poop jokes at 8 o'clock in the morning. So shout out to you, Brad. We love
no
you.
kidding. Oh, that's amazing.
Oh, that was great. Also, winner, Emily Beamer. Shout out, Mrs. Beamer.
Absolutely.
You know what? Even if the cookies weren't very good, incredibly kind of you to share them with the goobers that sit and ask your husband questions. once a week during the week and then ask him questions after football games, wins or losses. But they were also really good. It was right in my wheelhouse. Speaking of the wheelhouse, like I'm a fan of the soft cookie. I thought that was delicious. It was a very enjoyable moment. Jack Veltri, who's standing right outside the door right now, would agree. We were in agreement. We both tried them at the same time. It was good. But you know what? Feels good to be able to just go to a press conference and have a snack at the same time. It was a win.
That's a definite
solid.
win.
I guess I'm going to give my last winner to...
Oh, it's solid.
Oh, my God.
Give my last winner to the Auburn Tigers, dominating the news cycle yesterday. Not only did they claim national championships, not only did they retire Cam Newton's jersey, they also made mention of the fact that they not have one, not two, but three possible starting quarterbacks.
With 3 play callers.
And 3 play callers.
Does all the Auburn news dumping tell you anything about maybe what they think about their football team this year?
You said dumping.
Oh, dude, the cable show, if it's coming up, I got you covered.
Good luck, Tyler Head and Jack Veltri.
Yeah, good luck following that up. The extra point with Tyler Head and Jack Veltri. That's next.
Press here for our friends at Absolute Glass, the premier glass company of the Midlands, offering auto, home, and business glass repair. If your glass is damaged, shattered, cracked, or broken, they can handle the job. If it's a cracked windshield, that's no problem. They'll come out to your location and they'll replace it for you, usually for free, and they'll work directly with your insurance company to take away the headache. That's right. They'll come out to wherever you are. School, home, work, it does not matter. Absolute Glass will come out to you and take care of the job for you. Now, if you're at home, if you're looking to increase the value of your home, you can do that with new windows or mirrors. And Absolute Glass will take care of that for you, too. Windows, mirrors, shower enclosures. We say it all the time. If you can see through it, Ray and Marianne at Absolute Glass can do it.